Two major things are happening today. The first thing I want to look at is the Fed talk. What they are saying right now from the source itself. I'll give you that. The second thing is absolutely bombshell. We are talking about Saudi and Russia making a deal, making a pact that may impact the future of the US dollar. The next thing I want to look at is what's happening with Krispy Kreme. Yes, that's right. Krispy Kreme. I got a lot of information for you. Let's get into it right away. So much news that I have right here, but I've got to cover it all. It is extremely important that you are watching this today. Bullard says the Fed has to get going on the taper, may need to get aggressive to stop inflation. Have you ever seen the Federal Reserve talking like this? Never before. Now, you're not going to get this type of talk in the official statements, the FOMC meetings. No. But when they are speaking off the cuff like this, you're going to get a little bit more truth. And Bullard, of all people, he has said that they need to print money forever and ever. And now we are hearing this, a complete departure from that. It's very strange. Look, he said this. The central bank should have its tapering process finished by the end of March 2022. At that point, we'll see whether inflation has moderated. If it hasn't moderated, we're going to have to be more aggressive to contain inflation. Do you see what's happening here? They said by the time we're basically now, end of August, by the time we get into September timeframe, which is why I've been warning about September, that inflation should start to fall. But according to this information, they expect inflation to continue at this hot level or perhaps even higher all the way into next year. And that is if they taper. Okay? This is crazy to see this, that they're actually saying this. Bullard, who spoke from the Fed's annual Jackson Hole conference, said that there's some evidence that the Fed's bond buying blitz has started to create bubbles in the US housing market. I don't know what's going on right now, but everything is topsy-turvy. This is coming from somebody who has been paying attention to the actions of the Federal Reserve for nearly 15 years, every single day, always keeping this front and center. And I have never heard of talk like this. Fed's Kaplan is worried about inflation and risk-taking and wants to announce taper in September. This is the FOMC meeting. He's talking about September timeframe, when that will actually go into effect. He has suggested previously October. We have to see based on the vote and so on. But it's interesting that, you're getting this now from not just Kaplan, because he's usually one that's, a little bit more cautious, but from Bullard, wow, okay? He has said that he's worried about inflation as well as the financial market imbalances. So same sort of deal coming from these two people, okay? Based on everything I've seen, I don't see at this point that will cause me to materially change my outlook. It would continue to be my view that when we get to the September meeting, we would be well served to announce a plan for adjusting purchases and begin to execute that plan in October or shortly thereafter. At this time, you have the stock market at record levels. Every single day it's going higher. The jobs numbers are supposedly fantastic, and yet you are printing money like never before. We'll talk about that more in a second. Here's another Fed member. Fed's Esther George says it's time to start easing off of policy juice. I would be ready to talk about taper sooner rather than later. So, at this point, they can't give any official information, but this is the point. They're all saying now is the time. That, I think, is appropriate given the progress that we've seen. It doesn't mean that we will move all the way to neutral or a tighter policy, but I think it's a first step. Signs in the economy right now are showing that we are reaching that point of substantial further progress. And what they are trying to say right here is that they're going to start a taper. Okay, so they're printing $120 billion a month. Maybe they bring it down to 110, maybe it's 100 even. But the point here is that it's just a process. They're not shrinking their balance sheet. They are just reducing the amount of money that they're printing on a daily basis. I don't think people get that concept. This is the way that it is. Okay, other central banks have been doing this. Canada's been doing this for a while. Did the market necessarily drop right after? No, that's not how it works. But what it does do is it changes the landscape. Okay, I got a couple more things to show you here. Look at this. Bullard. We have a lot of inflation in the US, more than expected. A lot depends on whether inflation is going to moderate in 2022 or not. I'm a little skeptical. I think we want to get going on the taper, get the taper finished by the end of Q1. Okay, to me, that's big because it just shows you that they need to start now because it's going to get too crazy later. We know that. We've talked about that, you and I. Okay, within the comments, you've seen my videos, you've seen my replies to you as well. And that is obvious. But to hear the Federal Reserve say it's unimaginable to me. Now look at this. Maybe the reason money velocity continues to crater and doesn't make its way into the real economy is because of all the wealth getting sucked up by the few who hold it in the very assets continually goosed up by the Fed, which could mean the Fed is actually wrecking the economy. And this, of course, is absolutely true. When you print money, it gives it to the haves and takes it from the have-nots. One more thing before we move on to the GPS insights. Look at look at this. The Fed balance sheet versus the S&P 500, there are usually fluctuations along this period of time. You could see from 2019 into 2020, things get out of whack so often, but it's never been this accurate before. Now, of course, you can kind of fit it the way you want. And all I'm saying is that they have been moving in lockstep up to the right. This has been going on now, and it is crazy to see. It is so obvious to see, but people say, yeah, it's whatever. It's just a coincidence. Okay. Right now, major Fed players are talking about a taper. We have never seen this before up until this time, so this is huge news. This puts markets into a lower risk or risk off mode, and it will signal slower growth. There's no doubt we have seen this before back in 2018. Investors, listen up. Now is the time to consider what's going on in your portfolio and understand that different assets can provide you with different benefits. Too many people are holding one single asset at this time. Absolutely bombshell news coming out today. Okay, I'm going to show you two things related to this. Saudi Arabia and Russia have signed a military cooperation agreement at an arms expo outside of Moscow. This is big because, of course, the petrodollar. You have always seen the US and Saudi just being absolute partners, no doubt about it. And now suddenly we've taken a step forward, okay, or backward, depending on where it's coming from. Saudi signed military cooperation agreement with Russia. Same information. You could see here the military cooperation between the two countries. I signed an agreement today with the Russian Deputy Minister of Defense between the Kingdom and the Russian Federation, aimed at developing a joint military cooperation between the two countries. Very generic at this point, but I think it shows you right here that there is some partnerships, some alliances that are taking place outside of the US boundaries. The United States and the dollar hegemony is absolutely at risk. Now, people would say, that's not true. Come on, GPS. This is ridiculous. An agreement being signed and you're going to say that? No, there are so many things that have been changing over the years. Number one, reserve currency, okay? When we talk about reserve currency, this is not a single thing. There isn't one reserve currency. The most popular reserve currency is the United States dollar. That's an absolute fact, okay? The Federal Reserve note. That is a fact. It is the petrodollar, as they say. However, things are changing. Today, the reserves, the United States dollar being used in reserves around the world has dropped to 59%. Now, that percentage sounds relatively low, but understand that when you compare it to the rest, it is much higher, okay? The United States is by far the most widely used reserve currency, but it is not the only one, okay? We need to understand that, okay? As well as the fact that we've got China doing business with every country, okay? They are doing currency swaps with all different countries. They are using their own institutions like the AIIB and all these different partnerships, the BRICS and so on, absolutely going around the US. It's going to take a long time, but this is the direction, and this is only one step further. Nigeria and Russia seal military technical cooperation deal. This was brought to me by subscribers telling me about this. Hey, you better mention it. And of course, this is what's going on, all right? And then you have this. Russia's top oil company seeks to expand operations in Nigeria. So it's not just about the military, it's not just about oil, it's not just about the dollar. There's a lot happening. It's with infrastructure, it's with currencies, it's with everything that you can think of. Things are changing, things are different. I see people stuck in the old ways thinking, it's got to continue. I mean, it just has to. Why? Because their portfolio is at stake. Let's move into part 3 of this video, okay? We are looking at some serious things. I mean, this article is basically talking about the fact that the billionaires, they have done so well over this period here, over the last year and a half. Their fortunes have grown so much that it can pay off all of the $1.7 trillion student loans. It's crazy. And they talk about, just the numbers and so on. But what I think is hilarious is that this student loan business is something that there's a group making money off of. There's institutions making money off of. And there are people that are getting these degrees that are $40,000, $100,000, to whatever it might be, and ending up with no job and no way to pay off that debt. Why does the school cost this much money? It doesn't make any sense. Why don't we acknowledge that fact? Why aren't we talking about why the prices of everything are going up? Is corporate greed the only reason why prices are rising? Absolutely not. Is there corporate greed? You better believe it. But is that why the prices of everything are rising? No, we got to understand the devaluation of currencies. That's why the asset prices are rising, because people are realizing cash is trash. Cash has a place, let's be honest, but over years, it devalues. Manhattan's once prized walkable areas miss out on housing boom. This is for a lot of people, they wouldn't believe it, but this is the case. In one of the most expensive places in the world, lost premium. Once prized walkable zip codes in Manhattan have seen drops in housing. So this is lower Manhattan. This is since 2008, by the way. So 2018, excuse me. This is just showing you minus 10.8%. You're looking at Greenwich Village, minus 10%. Other places, okay? You just look at all these different zip codes. You may recognize them. These are, 5% to, almost 11% decline since 2018, not at their peak. When things get crazy, no matter how much money you throw at it, it may not be able to return to where it was, or at least for a long period of time. Now, I told you we're going to get information about Krispy Kreme, and I know I hate to give you the bad news, but those who love a Krispy Kreme are going to be paying more. Krispy Kreme is raising prices in September because of inflation. This is just one of the companies that are doing it. We know it. I've shown you so many examples. So many examples. Do you love Krispy Kreme? Let's talk about that in the description below. Krispy Kreme. I remember I ate a Krispy Kreme once. It felt like someone punched me in the stomach. I'm not even kidding. It's crazy. Corporate profits. We talked about that corporate greed, and I'll tell you right now, corporate profits have increased. You can see the jump, 9.7% to a record high. All of this, of course, connected into the madness of the stock buybacks and so on. It's disrupting and twisting everything. It's crazy, but that's the kind of world we live in today. Look, are you an insider? Let me know. Let me know if you're an insider, because this is what we have to do these days to get around the censorship. So basically, the insiders is my way to get to you and you to get to me directly. I'm one of the very few YouTubers out there who actually opens up the lines of communication. Why? Because I believe my subscribers are the most important thing to this channel. The comments. I have learned more from the comment section on this channel than I have from any news media outlet. That's how amazing it is. And I thank each and every one of you. If you want to become an insider, it's totally free. It's available here at this card or at themoneygps.com. Wait a second. Have you hit that like button? If not, Janet Yellen's going to be so sad. And when she comes home, she's going to be upset if we don't get all those likes. We have to get the likes up. So hit that like button, and thank you for that. If you haven't seen this video yet, you've got to click on it. Click it and I'll see you there.